I did not know it at the time, but my wife was about to humiliate me in front of everyone she cared about. She was about to pour dirty water on me at a gala, call me a loser, and laugh while doing it. What she did not know was that I owned the company her entire family worked for. What happened afterward crushed their world completely. "Why are you even here, Tyler?" she snapped at me that night. "This event is for successful people, not charity cases for unemployed nobodies. You do not belong at this gala." That was when Lauren Mitchell, my wife, lifted a bucket and dumped dirty water over my head in front of her coworkers, her secret lover, and her entire family. The laughter echoed through the room. No one stopped her. No one defended me. Not a single one of them knew the truth. Before all of that happened, the day had started quietly. The morning light crept slowly into the small apartment I shared with my wife. It slid across the living room floor, touched the old couch we always talked about replacing, and reached down the narrow hallway to the bedroom closet where Lauren was already getting dressed for work. The place was nothing fancy, no luxury at all, but it had a simple warmth to it. Laundry sat folded on a chair. 2 coffee mugs rested on the kitchen counter. Her perfume still lingered faintly in the air. I stood by the window and watched the street wake up. Neighbors walked out carrying lunch bags and keys. A school bus rattled by and hissed to a stop at the corner. A delivery van double-parked while the driver jumped out with boxes stacked in his arms. Out there, I was just another guy in an average building on an average block. No one looking up at that window would ever guess the weight I carried. Behind every normal morning was a secret life. Behind every quiet goodbye from my wife was a company she never knew belonged to me. Behind my modest shirts and simple habits was an inheritance that controlled the jobs and futures of more than 5,000 people. That included my wife, her father, her mother, and her younger brother. Lauren stepped out of the bedroom, fastening a small gold earring. She caught her reflection in the dark television screen as she passed. She wore a cream-colored blouse tucked into tailored black pants. Her heels clicked softly on the floor. Her hair was pulled back tight and neat, the way she liked it for work. "Do I look okay?" she asked, more out of routine than worry, checking herself again in the microwave door. "You look great," I said, and I meant it. She smiled briefly, grabbed her purse, and picked up her work identification badge from the table. The badge had the logo of Harrison Dynamics printed clearly across it. She slipped it around her neck and stepped close enough to give me a light kiss on the cheek. "I am heading out," she said. "Things are crazy at work this week. Do not forget to pick up something for dinner. I might be late." "No problem," I replied. "Have a good day." She was already halfway out the door before I finished speaking. The lock clicked. Her footsteps faded down the stairwell. The apartment fell into that familiar morning silence, peaceful but heavy at the same time. I waited a full minute, listening until her heels disappeared completely. Then I let out a slow breath. I moved through the apartment calmly, the same way I did every morning. I grabbed my jacket, slipped on my shoes, and stepped out through the back entrance of the building. I never used the front door in the mornings. Not because I was afraid of anyone, but because I had learned how to keep my 2 lives separate. The front door belonged to Tyler Harris, the ordinary man. The back door led to my other world. The world of Harrison Dynamics. The world my father built from nothing. The world I now controlled quietly, from the shadows. My car sat waiting in the alley. A plain gray sedan. No flashy brand. No custom wheels. Nothing about it hinted at wealth. I drove through narrow streets, past local shops opening their shutters, past the coffee shop where teenagers gathered every morning, past the school bus stopping again and again. The city came alive in layers. Car horns, voices, the smell of fresh bread drifting out from a bakery. 50 minutes later, everything changed. I turned onto a private road lined with tall trees that swallowed the noise of the city. The pavement was smooth. The air was calm. Large homes sat far apart from one another, hidden behind gates and hedges. At the end of the road stood the Harrison estate. Wide stone walls, long verandas, tall windows reflecting the morning sky. A place that carried the weight of generations. The security gate recognized my license plate and opened without a sound. I drove slowly up the long driveway, passing trimmed hedges and a quiet fountain murmuring to itself. When I stepped inside, the staff greeted me with respectful nods. They did not know me as the man from the apartment. They knew me as the owner. "Good morning, Mr. Harris," one of the housekeepers said softly. I nodded back, calm and polite, just like always. No one there would have guessed that by nightfall, the woman I loved would pour dirty water over my head and call me a loser. And no one at that gala would have guessed that the man they laughed at owned everything they depended on. "Morning," I said back, keeping my voice easy as I headed down the west wing of the house. Past a narrow hallway and behind a thick wooden door with frosted glass sat the real heart of Miller Dynamics. My father built this office inside the family home after the company outgrew its first downtown headquarters. It was never meant to impress guests. It was meant to win battles. It did not look like a boardroom. It looked like a command center. Large screens covered the walls, showing charts, maps, production numbers, and live feeds from factories and offices across the country. A long desk filled the center of the room, clean but busy, stacked with folders, tablets, and a laptop already awake. On top sat a familiar pile of files. The morning reports. I took my seat, pulled the first folder toward me, and opened it like I had done thousands of times before. While I was settling into my day inside the house, miles away my wife was becoming someone else entirely. When Olivia walked into Miller Dynamics headquarters, she left part of herself at the door. Inside that building, she was not Olivia Miller. That name did not exist there. She was Olivia Grant. Confident, ambitious, admired, and very publicly single. Her wedding ring sat zipped inside a small pocket in her purse. The same pocket she used every morning before stepping into the building. Her fingers showed no sign of a husband, no sign of loyalty, no sign of a life waiting at home. Her co-workers believed she was fully focused on her career and uninterested in settling down. None of them knew she walked out of a husband's apartment every morning. As she rode the elevator to the 7th floor, she checked her phone. A message waited for her. "Room is booked for after work." Same place. The message was from Brian Cole. Her lips curved into a quiet smile. She typed back a short reply and slipped the phone away just as the elevator doors opened. On the 7th floor, people smiled and waved at her. She returned the greetings with the polished charm everyone expected. Friendly, light, just flirty enough to enjoy the attention without crossing lines anyone could prove. Her coworkers joked that she was too attractive to stay single for long. She always laughed it off with a clever comment. None of them suspected she slipped a wedding ring back on every night. She moved through meetings with practiced ease. Calm voice, clear presentations, budget updates delivered with confidence. A few well-timed jokes that kept the room relaxed. She was good at what she did. Sharp, smooth, everything she believed I was not. When the workday ended, she packed up slowly. She waited until most of her coworkers had left. Then she sent one quiet text. "I am ready." Less than a minute later, Brian was waiting in the lobby, wearing a gray jacket. She picked up her bag, tucked her phone away, and walked out with an unhurried pace. Anyone watching would assume she was heading straight home. Instead, she crossed the lobby and stopped beside him near the revolving doors. Outside, the early evening breeze brushed her hair as they walked toward his dark sport utility vehicle. He opened the passenger door. She slid in without hesitation. Not awkward, not guilty, familiar. Once the doors closed and the city noise faded behind tinted windows, the air changed. "Long day?" he asked, his hand resting on the gear shift in a way that made it clear this was not an innocent ride. "Very," she said, leaning her head back. "I needed this." He pulled out of the lot and merged into traffic. One hand on the wheel, the other brushed against her knee. She did not stop him. They drove west, away from the office. Away from the co-workers who believed she went home alone. Away from the husband who was already back at the apartment, cooking dinner for a woman who had no intention of coming home early. 15 minutes later, they turned into the private lot of a familiar hotel. Tinted glass. Discreet entrance. Staff trained not to ask questions. This was not their first visit. Not even close. Inside, the receptionist nodded without asking for names. The room was already booked. Already paid for. Already waiting. Olivia walked ahead with quiet confidence, lifting her hair off her neck as they stepped into the elevator. Brian moved closer and lowered his voice. "I have been thinking about you all day." She smiled. Not shy, not ashamed, just comfortable. "I know." The elevator doors closed, sealing off the world where she pretended to be single. The world that fed her ego. The world she believed belonged to her. Back at the apartment, the lights were still off when she finally returned that night. She closed the doors softly behind her, hallway lights spilling over her shoulders. I looked up from the stove and turned off the burner. Steam rose from the pot of pasta I had made. Nothing fancy, just effort. The same effort I made every time she said she would be late. The small table was already set. 2 plates, 2 glasses, a folded napkin by her seat. She dropped her bag onto the couch with a tired sigh, the kind that did not quite match the glow still lingering on her face. And standing there in that quiet kitchen, I had no idea how close she was to losing everything she thought she controlled. There was something about her eyes that felt off, too bright for someone who claimed she had just finished a long day at the office. She kicked off her heels and pressed her toes against the cool floor. I stirred the pasta one last time before serving it. "You are home later than usual," I said, trying to sound normal. "Long day," Olivia replied easily, running her fingers through her hair. "Marketing is a nightmare this week. Everyone wants something." I nodded. "I figured. I made dinner if you are hungry." She glanced at the table. For a moment, her expression went blank, like she was calculating something. Then she forced a polite smile. "Thanks. Let me get comfortable." She disappeared into the bedroom and came back wearing an oversized shirt and leggings, her hair tied up loosely. She sat across from me and took a few bites, chewing without much interest, like her thoughts were somewhere else. "How was your day?" she asked lightly, the question sounding automatic. "Pretty normal," I said. "Quiet, mostly." "That is good." She leaned back and exhaled. "I am exhausted. Honestly, the only thing keeping me going is this stupid gala they are planning." I paused with my glass halfway to my mouth. "Gala?" I asked. "Yeah," she said, twirling her fork. "The company is hosting a huge formal gala in 3 days. Staff recognition, promotions, speeches. A big deal." I kept my face neutral, though something shifted inside me. I set the glass down carefully. "Will the chief executive officer be there?" I asked casually. She rolled her eyes with a small smirk. "That is what they say? Everyone is losing their minds over it. People are acting like it is some kind of award show." I nodded slowly. "And can spouses attend?" Her fork stopped midair. She lowered it slowly and looked at me, annoyance flashing across her face. "Why would you ask that?" she said. "I thought it might be nice," I replied evenly. "To go with you. Support you. Your family will be there, right?" Her jaw tightened. "Tyler, please do not start," she said. "Start what?" I asked quietly. She pushed her plate away slightly. "You know exactly what I mean. This is a formal corporate event. Executives, senior managers, important people. It is a big night for me." "I would just be sitting beside you," I said. "That is the problem," she snapped. "I do not want people whispering or asking questions or looking at me like I brought someone who does not belong there." Her words landed one after another, slow and heavy. "So you think I would embarrass you?" I said softly. "I did not say that," she shot back. "You implied it." She rubbed her face in frustration. "This company is full of powerful people. People with money, influence, people who fit that world. And I do not," I said. She went quiet for a moment, then nodded stiffly. "You do not." I swallowed. "I do not fit that world. This is why I did not want to bring it up," she said sharply. "You always make things bigger than they need to be." I asked one question. "And the answer is no," she said firmly. "You cannot come." "I do not want to explain myself. I do not want them wondering if I am." "If you are what?" I asked quietly. She hesitated, then said it anyway. "If you are out of place. If you are struggling. Between jobs. Whatever impression you give." My chest tightened. "So that is how you see me," I said. "A problem." "You are twisting it," she replied defensively. "I am being realistic. This night matters. My family will be there. My supervisors. The chief executive officer. It is not the night for you to come looking like you." "Simple," I repeated softly. She stood abruptly and picked up her plate. "I am not arguing about this anymore. Please, Tyler, let me have this one night without making things messy." I watched her rinse her plate at the sink like nothing serious had just happened. Her shoulders were calm. "Certain." I placed my plate beside hers. "All right," I said quietly. "If that is what you want." She nodded without looking at me. "Thank you." I stepped away from the kitchen. The apartment suddenly felt smaller, tighter, like the walls were listening. 3 days later, the Grand Hamilton Hotel glowed under massive chandeliers and warm golden lights. Marble floors shined so brightly that every heel echoed through the lobby. A wide banner stretched across the far wall. Miller Dynamics Annual Staff Gala. Silver lettering. White drapery, tall floral displays. This was the night people dressed their best, smiled the hardest, prayed their names would be called, and the night my wife made sure I was not supposed to exist. She stepped out of the rideshare car like she belonged on the cover of a glossy magazine. My wife, Lauren Parker, wore a deep navy blue gown that fit her perfectly. Tiny silver flecks in the fabric caught the light every time she moved. A slit along her leg swayed smoothly as she walked, her heels striking the pavement with confidence. Her hair fell in soft waves around her face, and her jewelry sparkled like it had been chosen just for this moment. Waiting near the entrance were her parents and her younger brother. Her father, Robert Parker, stood tall in a dark suit, with her mother, Susan, beside him, and her brother Kyle adjusting his tie like he owned the place. They had arrived early, standing out front like tonight belonged to them. "There she is," Robert said proudly, opening his arms. "Our star. You look incredible." Susan reached out and brushed at an imaginary wrinkle on Lauren's dress. "Everyone is going to be talking about you tonight." Kyle gave a crooked grin. "You look expensive, sis." Lauren smiled, soaking it all in. This was her world. A place where people admired her, where she felt important and rising. She did not have to explain herself here. She did not have to hide anything. She was the version of herself she wanted everyone to see. Not far away, standing near a tall crystal pillar, was Aaron Cole, her secret lover. He wore a dark tailored suit that fit him like it was made for him. His eyes moved over her openly, without shame. The ballroom lights flashed off his cuff links as he lifted his champagne glass, just slightly, a private signal meant only for her. Lauren's lips curved just a bit, and she lifted her chin in return. Inside the ballroom, soft music drifted from a string quartet near the stage. People stood around tall tables, laughing, clinking glasses, admiring each other's outfits. Executives talked with department heads. Managers joked with analysts. Everyone looked lighter tonight, freed from deadlines and numbers. Lauren walked in with her family, drawing attention without trying. People greeted her warmly. Compliments followed her everywhere. Whispers about promotions floated through the air. She moved from group to group with ease, confidence growing with every step. She had no idea that every single person in that room worked inside a structure held together by the man she left at home. After a few minutes, her father leaned closer, frowning slightly. "Where is your husband tonight?" he asked casually. "Did he stay home?" Lauren inhaled carefully. "We agreed he should not come." Robert nodded immediately. "Good choice. This is not a night for simple men. This is a serious event." Susan agreed. "The chief executive officer will be here. Important people. We cannot embarrass ourselves." Before Lauren could reply, something shifted inside her. A sudden pull in her chest. A warning she could not explain. She turned toward the entrance and froze. Standing at the ballroom doors was me. I was wearing the same simple suit I wore everywhere. Nothing flashy. Nothing expensive looking. I had not been invited. I was not supposed to be there. Her face drained of color. "What is he doing here?" Robert asked sharply. Kyle glared. "Why did you bring him?" "I did not search the room for her." I walked in slowly, calmly, nodding politely to anyone who looked my way. My posture was relaxed. My face gave nothing away. I stood out among the glittering gowns and polished tuxedos like a stain they could not wipe away. Lauren's body stiffened. Heat rushed through her veins. She muttered an excuse and stormed down a side hallway, her heels striking the marble floor hard and angry. She rounded a corner and stopped near a housekeeping cart. Her breathing was fast. Her eyes burned, not with sadness, but with rage. Beside the cart sat a plastic cleaning bucket, half full of dirty, gray water left from mopping. The smell was faint but unpleasant. She grabbed it. She did not hesitate. Lauren marched back into the ballroom, gripping the bucket with both hands. Her steps were loud enough to turn heads. Conversations died mid-sentence. People stared as she approached me. I was standing near a table, reading a small event card. I looked up. My eyes were calm, open, unaware. She did not give me time to speak. The water hit me all at once. It exploded over my suit, soaked my shirt, ran down my hair, splashed across the marble floor. The cold shock hit first. Then the silence. Gasps rippled through the room. A champagne glass shattered. Hands flew to mouths. Phones came out, screens glowing like little warning lights. Lauren's voice cut through everything, sharp and cruel. "I do not know why you came here," she shouted. This is a night to celebrate success, not a charity event for unemployed losers. You do not belong here. You never will. And we are done. You will hear from my lawyer." Her father clapped once, satisfied. "That is what you get," he said. Her brother smirked. And in that moment, dripping wet and standing alone, none of them realized they were humiliating the man who owned the company that paid for every suit, every dress, and every glass of champagne in that room. They would soon. About time my sister made the right choice. That is what her brother said, loud enough for people nearby to hear. I stood there soaked, staring straight ahead, and in that moment every lie finally lined up in my mind. Every late night, every excuse, every time she made me feel small. I did not say a word. I did not blink. I did not argue. I did not defend myself. I turned around and walked out. Each step felt heavy, like the water dripping from my clothes had weight to it. The ballroom did not stop me. It did not follow me. It swallowed my exit in a shocked, shaking silence. Outside, the cold air hit me hard. It stung my skin where the dirty water was already starting to dry. I walked down the steps of the Grand Hamilton Hotel without slowing down. A few guests stood outside for air or phone calls. Their whispers cut through the night, but I kept moving. I reached my car, opened the door, and sat down. My hand shook just a little. The smell of mop water, chlorine, and humiliation filled the space around me. My chest tightened once, sharp and fast, but I forced myself to breathe evenly. Then I pulled out my phone and called one number. "It is time," I said. My voice was calm, too calm. On the other end, my senior executive assistant paused for half a second. "Yes, sir," she said. "Understood. The convoy will be ready." I ended the call, dropped the phone on the seat, and started the engine. As I pulled away from the hotel, the quiet inside the car thickened. And with it came memories I did not ask for. I saw the restaurant where we first met. Dim lights. A small corner table. She was laughing with a coworker back then, long before we were anything. Her smile had been soft, real, untouched by hunger for status. I remembered her dropping her purse. The way she laughed when I helped her pick everything up. The shy apology. The spark that made me believe life could be simple. Our first dates came back to me. Cheap cafes. Long walks. Late nights talking until the world felt small and safe. She had been open then. Funny. Alive. Not the sharp, polished version she later built for the corporate world. I remembered the first time she met my father, Thomas Miller. She did not know who he was. She was polite, but distracted, scrolling through her phone while my father and I talked quietly. Later, he pulled me aside and said, "Make sure she sees you, not the life you give her." At the time, I truly believed she did. My grip tightened on the steering wheel. Then I remembered her family. Sunday dinners full of forced smiles and sharper words. Her father talking loudly about real men with ambition. Her mother comparing me to other husbands. Her brother laughing whenever I showed up in my old sedan. Every single one of them worked for Miller Dynamics, loyal only to their belief that they deserved more. None of them ever guessed the man they mocked signed their paychecks. I remembered sitting in the villa weeks earlier, a thick promotion file open on my desk. My father watched me closely. I read through my wife's department review. Her strengths, her progress, her effort. I approved her promotion without hesitation. I signed her father's promotion. I signed her brother's advancement letter. I imagined standing on that stage at the gala. Not to shame anyone, not to boast, just to say quietly, "I gave you all a chance. I chose to lift you." I had been excited, nervous, hopeful. I thought that night would heal something. Instead, she poured dirty water on me. Her father laughed. Her brother smiled. Her lover stood frozen in the background. I blinked hard and forced the image away. When I reached our apartment building, I parked and went inside. The hallway was quiet, familiar. The apartment looked exactly the same. The blanket on the couch. The plant she always forgot to water. A framed photo from our second month together. I did not stop to look. I went straight to the bathroom, turned the shower on hot, and stripped off the ruined suit. Water rushed over me, washing away the grime, but not the memory. I scrubbed until the last trace of dirty water disappeared down the drain. Then I stepped into the bedroom closet. Behind my everyday clothes, hidden at the back, hung a black garment bag. It had not been touched in nearly a year. I unzipped it slowly. Inside was the suit. Custom-tailored. Hand-stitched. The suit of a chief executive officer. I put it on carefully, button by button. Calm. Steady. The cuff links clicked into place, silver, engraved with the Miller crest. I strapped on the watch my father gave me the day he handed me the company. I combed my hair back and looked in the mirror. I did not see the man she called a loser. I saw the man who ran an empire. Outside, engines hummed. I stepped onto the sidewalk just as a line of black sport utility vehicles rolled in, headlights glowing, waiting for me. The executives were already waiting when I stepped outside. I saw them straightening their ties, fixing their jackets, suddenly alert. Security moved fast, opening the door of the black sport utility vehicle for me. I got in without a word. The convoy pulled away. Back to the hotel. Back to the ballroom. Back to the truth. The moment the vehicles rolled up to the entrance of the Grand Hamilton, the air changed. People standing outside for fresh air froze where they were. Valets stood up straighter. Security moved in sync, forming a clear path through the doors. Inside the ballroom, a host stood at the microphone. I heard his voice shake. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, barely steady. "The chief executive officer has arrived." Everything stopped. Conversations died in mid-sentence. Glasses froze halfway to mouths. The music cut off, so suddenly it felt like someone had pulled the power. The doors opened. I walked in, not as the man my wife mocked, not as the husband she humiliated, but as the man who owned everything she thought she understood. The chandeliers reflected off my suit as I crossed the room. My steps were slow, deliberate. Executives lowered their heads. Employees stared, eyes wide, mouths slightly open. I saw my wife, Lauren Parker. Her knees gave out, just a little. Her father stopped breathing for a second. Her brother's lips trembled. Her lover looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. I stepped onto the stage. I took the microphone. "Good evening," I said. My voice was calm, steady, and carried through the room. Tonight was created to honor the people who make this company strong. The ones who work with integrity. The ones who carry the name Miller Dynamics with pride. My eyes moved across the crowd. Faces I recognized from reports, from meetings, from decisions made quietly behind closed doors. Then my tone changed. "But tonight," I continued, "we also witnessed something else. Something that reveals character better than any achievement ever could." Lauren flinched. Our eyes met for a brief second. There was no anger in me, no sadness, just clarity, the kind that only comes after something inside you breaks and settles. "I have watched this company for years," I said, "and I have learned that respect is not tested on easy days. It is tested in moments when people believe no one important is watching." The ballroom went dead silent. My father's words echoed in my head again, just like they had years earlier. Sometimes you need people to think you're a nobody, so they show you exactly who they are. Tonight, they had. I lowered the microphone and nodded. The head of human resources stepped forward, holding a sealed folder. The weight of it was obvious. Consequences inside. Truth on paper. I opened it. I read the names clearly. Lauren Parker, Robert Parker, Kyle Parker. A collective gasp swept through the room. "Effective immediately," I continued. "These individuals are terminated from Miller Dynamics and permanently blacklisted. This company will not be stained by cruelty. It will not tolerate humiliation, not toward any employee, and not toward the name Miller." I closed the folder gently. That sound echoed louder than applause ever could. I stepped down from the stage. Executives lowered their heads as I passed. Employees parted from me, silent, stunned, like water around a steady ship. Lauren stumbled forward. "Please," she cried. "Just let me talk." I did not stop. I walked past her father, shaking in his chair. Past her brother, unable to speak. Past co-workers frozen in place. I walked through the ballroom doors. My shoes echoed down the hallway, each step sealing the fate of everyone I left behind. Outside, the convoy waited, engines humming low. I got in. The doors closed. The vehicles pulled away. Behind me, Lauren collapsed into sobs. I did not look back, not even once. I did not turn toward the street that led to the small apartment we once shared. I did not glance at the glowing hotel entrance or listen to the echo of her voice breaking apart behind me. The city lights blurred into silver streaks as the convoy moved through streets only a few people knew how to access. When the gates of the Miller estate opened, it felt like quiet recognition. The long driveway glowed under warm lights, shadows dancing across the stone walls. This was home, not the apartment. The vehicle stopped at the entrance. Staff stood ready, respectful. I stepped out. They bowed slightly as I passed. My father, Daniel Miller, waited in the foyer. His hands were behind his back, his posture straight. Age had softened him, but his insight was sharp as ever. He took one look at me and understood everything. I inhaled slowly. He nodded once. "You do not have to explain," he said quietly. "Tonight, you saw who they really are." A deep breath left my chest, one I did not realize I had been holding. And for the first time in a long while, I felt completely free. I walked past my father and deeper into the quiet of the villa. The heavy doors closed behind me, not to shut out the world, but to seal off everything I had already left behind. That night, Lauren did not sleep. She sat curled up on her parents' couch with her knees pulled tight to her chest, still wearing the same glittering gown from the gala. The dress was wrinkled now, streaked with tears. The shine was gone. Her mother paced the living room, calling my phone again and again. Her father swore under his breath, dialing every number he could think of. Her brother sat frozen, texting coworkers who never replied. Nothing connected. When Lauren tried calling me, it did not even ring. It went straight to voicemail, like my number no longer existed. "Why?" she whispered, her voice shredded. "Why will he not answer?" Her mother squeezed her shoulders. "He is upset. He will calm down." But none of them believed that. They all knew the truth. I had cut them out completely. By the second day, panic took over. Lauren drove to Miller Dynamics, desperate and shaking, only to find her employee badge no longer worked. Security escorted her out politely but firmly, like she was a stranger. Her father tried calling old contacts inside the company. No one picked up. Her brother tried harder. Silence. The only person who answered was her lover. When she called him, her voice breaking, he sounded distant. Cold. "Do you want me to lose my job?" he snapped. "Do not ever call me again." The line went dead. Something inside her cracked. On the third morning, a knock sounded at the door. Lauren rushed to answer, hope flaring without reason. But it was only a uniformed courier holding a sealed envelope. He asked for a signature, handed it over, and left. She closed the door slowly. Her parents gathered around as she opened it. The first line drained the color from her face. Divorce petition. Her legs gave out. She collapsed to the floor, covering her face as her body shook. Her mother dropped beside her. Her father paced the room in silence. Her brother stared at the ceiling, lost. They had all been erased in a single stroke. A month passed. A long, humiliating month where the Parker name became something people avoided. Doors closed quietly. Calls went unanswered. Careers disappeared without explanation. Then came the court date. The morning was gray and cold. Lauren stood outside the courtroom in a plain black dress. Her hands were clasped together, like they were the only thing holding her upright. She had lost weight, lost sleep, lost the confidence she once wore like armor. Her family sat beside her, smaller than they had ever been. I walked in calmly, wearing a tailored suit that fit me like truth. 2 attorneys walked with me. I did not look at her. Not once. The judge reviewed the paperwork. "Mrs. Miller," he said evenly, "under the trust established by your husband's father, you have no legal claim to any assets. The court cannot grant what never belonged to the marriage." Lauren's voice broke apart. "Your Honor, please. I did not know. I did not mean it. I can change. I love him." The gavel struck. Divorce granted. The sound echoed. She stood, barely steady, and rushed after me into the hallway. "Please," she begged. "Just look at me." I kept walking. She grabbed my sleeve. "I am sorry. I did not understand. Please give me one more chance." I stopped just long enough to turn my head slightly. Not enough to give hope. Only enough to give truth. "There is nothing left," I said quietly. "And there never will be." Her knees hit the floor. Her sobs echoed through the hall. I walked on. I left the courthouse with the calm of a man reclaiming his life. I never looked back. Not once.